Hey guys, so going to be doing a breakdown today of Catching a Wave. This was a song that I put out in, let's actually see when I put it out. Go here, Catching a Wave, Walker. This is a song that I put out oh wow, almost a year ago. So May 30th, 2025. So that's exactly 10 months ago. And I put out a little query asking what you guys wanted to see a breakdown of, and this one came up. This is interesting. This is one of those songs that let me make sure I'm recording. Okay. This is one of those songs that kind of just pops into your head. I just had the idea for the chords pop into my head. I was at that time really enjoying sort of messing around with those kind of parallel sus chords, but sus chords that are still in the key. And I just I had the chords pop into my head, and then I had the little refrain or hook pop into my head, and it was like, okay, cool. Let's make this thing happen. And so sort of when that happens for me, there's producer brain becomes active, right? And it becomes okay, cool, I have the idea. What instrument am I hearing this played on? And I always really love the challenge of recording acoustic guitar and also fitting acoustic guitar into one of my productions, right? Because I do a lot of stuff that's pretty dry, pretty hip hop or soul music, modern soul music influenced, right? And the texture of the acoustic guitar is sometimes not the easiest thing to get to fit in that world. So I always like the challenge of that. So anyways, you'll see in this that this is the acoustic guitar, and it's stereo because at this time I was doing a lot of mid-side recording for guitar. I just liked the sense of space that it gave and the sense of sort of it being a little bit inaccurate and a little bit pushed back, unlike what you get with a mono microphone, where I find that for acoustic guitar you can really hear a lot of the string noise, a lot of the finger noise, and that kind of stuff just annoys me. So anyways, we start our intro, and this is on acoustic guitar. Okay, 1 second. Oh, yeah, yes, we can do this. Video demo. Cool. And then the other thing is I got to raise my buffer size because I was just recording, so it's really low. Okay, let's put it at 512. Great. I need one more thing, folks. Give me 1 second. Let's make a MIDI track here. Cool. Let's go Keyscape. Cool. And let's go. How am I doing on time? Good. Wurlitzer. Search. I've been really digging the 140B. It's just kind of great. There's my MIDI keyboard working. Because I want to talk a little bit about harmony too as we go through this stuff. I find that it's just more fun to sort of also talk about theory and harmony as we go through these things, rather than kind of just focusing on production. Okay, cool. So here's my little chord app. Okay, so let's try to see what key this song is in. And let me move this over too, actually. Desktop needs to be right here. Okay, cool. So we've got 2 sus chords, a minor 9, and then
I'm just catching a wave.
And then we're back to the same, right, that's the same chord pattern, except, oh, it's not quite the same. Okay. See, I made this 10 months ago, so I don't know. Okay, so it seems like what we have is for the intro, we've got, let's see. So that's our last chord, so it must be so okay, cool. So we're in the key of D flat, so we've got E flat minor 9, then G flat over A flat. So here's a G flat chord. It's calling it an F sharp. I disagree. G flat over A flat, and then ooh, and then A flat over B flat, right? And so this is, I see this numerically as 2, 5 sus, 6 sus. And what I meant when I said before that these are all, these are parallel sus chords, but they're in the key is, this is a sus chord, but the A flat note and the G flat triad are both still in the key of D flat. And here, this is an A flat chord, which is in the key of D flat, and a B flat note, which is in the key of D flat too. So not parallel sus chords where you'll do something like this, right? And you'll end up with, this is not in the key of D flat. Anyways, that's the idea. So that's our intro. So and then what do we have? It sounded like flat 7, dominant 7. So that would be, and that's maybe a little too extended. Let me think of a better voicing for this. There we go. Yeah. How do we get the 9 in there? I feel like there's a 9 in mine. There we go. And then I'll put the third here. There it is. That's the voicing. So now I have B9 sharp 11. Right, so I see that as flat 7, dominant 7, which is the dominant 7 chord that we usually play in a backdoor 2-5-1. And my idea for kind of throwing this chord in an unconventional place is that I felt like Tom Misch did that a lot. And as you can probably tell with the sound of the song, it's very Tom Misch influenced. So most of the time when people play this kind of chord, this flat 7, dominant 7, you know, in the key of D flat major, right? So they'll do it something like this, right? You might have, like, you'll be in the key, right? Right. And then you'll probably have something like this. Oop, whoops. Something to the effect of, oh, let me get rid of that F. Right? So that's a 2-5. Happens to be in the key of what? E, and then it'll lead back to, right, that. But Tom Misch will kind of mix in this chord, this one, in just various places. And so I thought it might be interesting to just have it suddenly come in. The other thing is it has that F in it pretty prominently. So, right, and then, right. Anyways, cool. Now we're into our chorus. Bass note hits that B.
I'm just catching a wave.
And we've got our vocals.
Coming my way. And I'm so glad. I'm just catching a wave.
Right, so here's our
Coming my way.
stereo double.
And I'm so glad.
Right?
So I let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave. Coming my way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad. So I let it roll away. I'm just
A lot going on this vocal. So if I remember correctly, what happened was I kind of record this vocal in the lower octave of my voice, which I don't do that often. And so I just was having a little more trouble in the mix getting it to sit. Let's see what it sounds like with all of this stuff off of it. All these plugins off.
I'm just catching a wave.
Ooh.
Coming my way.
Well, there's still one very important thing
And I'm so glad.
that's on here, which is I have actually an emulation of a Leslie cabinet on this vocal. That is the amplifier that you run an organ through. And so you'll hear, if I take it off, a lot of that pitch fluctuation.
I'm just catching a wave.
There we go. Right?
Coming my way.
That sounds like a person's voice.
And I'm so glad.
That sounds good. I don't know what I was
So I
thinking.
let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave.
I remember being insecure about this. I think it sounds fine. So that's why I put this Leslie on it. Listen now. This is with the Leslie.
I'm just catching a wave.
Hear that? Right?
Coming my way.
Right?
And I'm so glad.
So it adds some pitch fluctuation. It adds a slight stereo effect. It makes, the effect the effect of something like this where you're adding pitch movement or vibrato is generally that it just makes it slightly harder to perceive whether something is on or off pitch in the original source, right? So if I have an instrument, or in this case a vocal, that the tuning on it isn't perfect, yeah, you can use Melodyne, you can tune it and all that kind of thing. But another thing you can do is you can put a pitch modulation on it, so like a vibrato or chorus or anything that affects pitch, and that'll help it be a little bit less obvious or perceptible that your source is off pitch. So I'll go quickly through all this stuff now that I have here. You probably can't see it on the top of the screen. So I've got a gate, a compressor, an EQ just bringing up some high end. I've got another EQ bringing up a little more high end. This is a vintage EQ that I put in for some sort of vibe purposes. A de-esser, which, you know, every single vocal I have a de-esser on. Some more EQ. I wouldn't really pay attention to that. And then let's see what happens if I turn all this stuff back on.
I'm just catching a wave
Whoa.
coming my way.
Well, that did not work. I need to rename. There we go. Okay, hold on one second. Renable. Great. There we go.
So I let it roll away.
There's
I'm just
our
catching a wave
kind of our vocal sound for
coming my
the
way.
A section.
And I'm
And
so
then I bring in
glad.
these falsetto doubles.
So I let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave. Don't doubt it. Coming my way. And I'm so glad.
I like to have some back and forth in the vocals, right? So we have
Just catching a
just
wave.
catching a wave. Don't doubt it.
Coming my way.
Around
And I'm
it.
so glad.
I found it.
So I let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave.
Don't doubt it.
Coming my
Little harmony comes in here. Don't doubt it. Right? Let's listen to that.
Don't doubt it.
Just tucked in the back.
Don't doubt it. Coming my way. And I'm so glad I found it. So I let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave.
More harmonies.
Catching a wave.
Okay, cool. So a couple little more chordal things to go over, then we'll get out of here. First of all, production-wise, the chords at this part of the song are in these stereo guitars I recorded. These, I think, were run through what's called Chroma Console, which is a little multi-effects pedal I have. I'll talk more about that in another video. So one more chordal thing. We've got, right, 2, 5, 6 sus, and then this is the chord that leads us back to here, I believe. Let me check.
So I let it roll away. I'm just catching a wave.
Yeah, okay, so that's this section, is it? Just catching a wave coming my way. I'm so glad. So I let it roll away. Right? Little tritone sub there. I'll go into that sort of theoretically in more detail later, but that's what's going on. We're gonna use that B7 that we talked about a bit earlier as a transitionary chord to get into between sections. So it got us from our intro into our A section. It's also going to get us into our B section. So that's our B sus, right? Yep. Ooh, I got the voicing. Great. Okay, we're in our B section. I like in a section change like this to change which instrument is playing the chords. So the guitars had it before. Now it's going to be piano.
I once knew a man so in love with his plans. He took his time in the hand, traded for gold.
This is the part I'm most
What
proud
could I
of.
do to make him understand that the world is
Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's see. Finally, we go to 1. I once knew a man so in love with his plans. Ooh. He took his time in the hand. Not sure what that is. It could be that. Traded for gold. What could I do to make him understand? I mean, I love that. It's weird, like being a fan of your own shit, but I enjoy that. That the world is okay. So, only change there I think to highlight in the production is I go for those held legato chords before, so it's like once to a man, right? offbeat, held, legato. Then we bring in some more rhythm second half of this B section. So check it out.
Gold. What could I do to make him
Right, now we have
understand
that
that the world is so light, so full of love, and we are just sparks in the darkness of night.
We are just sparks in the darkness
Don't give away
of night.
what's in your heart, even for gold.
There's that B again, right? Yeah. Back to our intro. Transition here, check it out. Volume up. Check it out. Using a filter here, moving the filter up and down, giving us a sense of transition. We also hear a new instrument. We have our Rhodes come in for the first time, right? So we've, right, new sound. And then this is the part everybody wants to hear about, right?
I'm just dashing away.
And then our outro.
Doesn't matter if I do it every day. Doesn't matter if I ever lose my way. I'm whole, and that's what I'm trying for. It doesn't matter if I do it every day. Doesn't matter if I ever lose my way. I'm whole. That's what I'm trying for.
I kind of got that vibe from John Mayer. I find like a lot of times he hits a fade out in one of his songs. He'll kind of play like a bluesy thing, and then you hear the blue. You're like, oh, as it fades. So, anyways, this last section, I'll cover the vocals first, then we'll look at the solo. Last section, I love the opportunity to take an A section again, write a new hook for it. To me, that transition from one melody to another, in terms of the meaning of the song, almost like embodies the type of transition that I'm talking about emotionally in the song, right? Where, not to get too much in the theme of it, but it's like at the beginning, I'm just catching a wave, whatever. I'm trying to sort of calm myself down. And then by the end of the song, I have the confidence of this.
Doesn't matter if I do it.
Not the confidence to play you that raw falsetto background, though. Let's add the lead.
Doesn't matter if I do it every day. Doesn't matter if I ever lose my way. I'm whole,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm trying for.
Doesn't matter if I do it every day. Doesn't matter if I ever lose my way. I'm whole, and that's what I'm trying for, right? So that idea of like, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to win any awards. I'm just going to ride this wave, and I'll see where it takes me, and after that, I'll do the next one. Before we jump into the solo, we should cover the drums real quick. They're basically the same throughout the song. Let me see where I can find them. These are probably them. Yeah. Secret of drum tone like this is, I take my drums, I record oh, look, little mistake in there. That's nice. Take drums, which I have in the other room. I'll talk about those another time. But, dude, literally on this song, the only thing I'm seeing is a little bit of volume, a little bit of EQ, and Ableton drum bus, which if you've never put Ableton drum bus on live drums, try it. It's fucking sweet. We've got Shaker too. Let me see if I can add it. Right? And then the thing that really makes it, right? See the kind of splat in those, that's what I call it. It's a flam, right? So these claps all hit at slightly different times. Very important. Okay, let's look at this solo. So we have our build up.
I'm just dashing away.
So I took this solo on piano, and then I like to do this often. I'll take a solo on one instrument. I have two primary instruments, piano and guitar. I'll take a solo on one of them, then learn it on the other one. And that's just kind of like, you're always looking for ways to kind of keep it interesting as you work on stuff like this. I love practicing and working on my instrument, but sort of with the goal of like making as much music as I can. I don't always have as much time to do that as I want. So this is a nice exercise in like, let me take some of the stuff that I feel naturally on piano, learn it on guitar. I've also done that the other way. Let's find where this guitar is, and I will turn it off. I think it's maybe this. our little melody that we repeat in the solo instruments at the end of the song. Main thing I want to point out here is like, if you're interested in this solo and learning more about it, transcribe it, learn it, check it out. I can dive more into the actual theory I'm thinking about when I'm soloing on this. Honestly, as a jazz musician, when I'm soloing on this, the main thing I'm thinking is I'm just thinking 2, 3, 5 of 2. Right? So, and you'll see that works, even though the chords are, I don't know what the chords are at that point. I don't have time to go over it, but what is that? Right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, main thing I'm thinking while I'm soloing over that is 2, 3, 6, or technically really this is 5 of 2. We'll add the guitar. Adds a lot of vibe. And actually, while we're at it, I want to point out one more thing, which is I want to talk about. Well, that's the delay. I want to talk about hearing a note in your solo and then like missing it or not playing it. You might have noticed when I solo the piano that there are times at which it's clear that I sort of obviously do intend for a certain note to happen, but I don't get to it or I miss it, or it's very quiet. And I think that's really cool because that gives the listener's brain the ability to fill in what they think that note is. So let's listen real quick. I'll show you. Oh, that's bass. Where's piano? Is that bass? It seems pretty clear that it is. What the fuck? Oh, here we go. This is, no, that's not it either. What the fucking hell, mate? Oh, here it is. Bruh. The struggle is real. Is it here? Oh, okay, cool. So, the thing you hear is, but if I actually solo it, you don't hear this note. You don't hear, you hear nothing, right? When there's supposed to be that note. So I think that's interesting. Here again. Let's see. I'm learning this again for the first time, so. For that, you think you're hearing, but you actually hear. What do you hear? So there's a pause, right? Right? Rather than, I don't know what I was going for. Something like that, maybe. Some kind of triplet-y thing. But anyways, I don't hit it, and I think that that's sort of what's cool about it. Okay, I gotta go. I have a lesson in 4 minutes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover about this. I know specifically people were interested in the transition. Let's look at everything in the transition that's happening. So So we go back to our guitar, our synth comes in. Oh, we have our vocal.
I'm just catching a wave.
And we have wait, right? Which is a great way to sort of build suspense or build up as you throw a long delay on something. I have the filter on it too, so it's not the whole unfiltered word that you're hearing repeated. It's the word but filtered, right? So let me solo the lead vocals so you can hear.
I'm just catching a wave.
Right. Okay.
I'm just catching a wave.
All right, I've got my gang vocals here,
I'm just catching a wave.
which
I'm
kind of
just catching a wave.
leads us in, right?
Catching a wave.
Let's listen to our guitar. So I filled in some of the notes I missed on the piano, right? Yeah, man.
I do it every day. Doesn't matter if I ever lose my way. I'm bold.
And then here's our blues.
That's what I'm trying.
Okay. All right, that's it for this one, guys. I hope you dig that, and let me know if there are any other songs you want me to cover. Cheers.